Hey, what's up, bookworms? We're back with another Talk About Nothing, and today I'm going to remember how to actually use the comment system here in StreamYard. A Talk About Nothing I've been trying to get together for a while, and being on different time zones, it hasn't quite worked out. I've been trying to get Library of Viking Jóhan here on the channel for a long time so he could tell me how to get good at Instagram, because I'm just not that good at Instagram, and he's really good at it.
Recently.
So, guys, welcome in. Jóhan, how are things, my friend?
Yeah, really good. I'm so honored to be here. Obviously, you're one of the channels that kind of was like one of the inspirations behind me creating a booktube channel. So yeah, I just want to thank you for inspiring me to read so many books, and also more recently for teaching me so much about Bitcoin. I really appreciate it.
I put out a video late last night because I did get the new computer, and I upgraded Filmora, and I was, when you get a new editing software, it just takes forever to learn where everything is. And so I've been using Filmora 10, and this is 13, and it's like completely different. And I had to learn where everything was. So I'd say I'll get that video out probably by like 5. I didn't get out to like 9 o'clock last night because I was just learning how to use everything. And this morning I get on all the comments. All of them are Mike-Row strategy and Bitcoin advice and what kind of Bitcoin book should I be reading this month and stuff. So I mean, it's funny now. Like I said, it wasn't funny
now.
It was funny at the time, but yeah. I mean, look, the viewers liked it. They liked I'm glad. I mean, not all of them did, because like I said, I did lose about 2,000 subscribers, and I say about 500 came back. So
you'll get them all back, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. It's just it's one of those things where as content creators, we like to look at our analytics and obsess over it sometimes. It's like you got to let that go for at least this month, because it was not pretty. But hey, again,
man, I can't tell you how. I can't even imagine how you felt, but I was seriously stressing myself about my own channel. I literally went on all my settings. I checked all my security, and yeah, I was just thinking about it. I can't imagine how you felt during that period, but. I'm glad that you're here. We're able to have this chat.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make that video, tell people how exactly it happened, because I could tell that this is just something that they're targeting a lot now as content creators. So I just want to make sure you guys look. I know that we get a million sponsorship and collaboration offers. I'm just like, do your homework big time before you work with any of them. That's the only advice that I would give. So you're not unaware of the analytics tab. Knock it off. Hey, thank you. I hope that this is not coming over in Bitcoin. I do appreciate that. It's very good. But hey, I want to talk to you today about your channel. First, thank you for giving me that idea about why are booktubers quitting. And I wanted to kind of piggyback.
I'm glad you made a follow-up video.
Yeah, it was something I felt like I never try to do that, because I don't want people to think I'm like stealing their ideas. But I was like, I feel like I have some follow-up ideas for that, because at the same time, I got a lot of questions about like, how have you not quit? How have you been doing this for 5 years? 3 to 5 videos a week for 5 years straight. How have you do this without getting burned out? I'm like, everybody gets some burnout. You just kind of learn how to weather it, I think. But yeah, some of the things you brought up in there, it's just like, if you can't take some mean comments, man, I don't know if this is going to be the thing for it, because even something as subjective about books, you're still going to get those nasty comments. Like I see in yours about how people accuse you of using clickbait titles and stuff like that. Don't you just love that? Doesn't it just make you feel great?
Yeah, it makes you feel great. I've tried. Well, I'm not fully committed to it, but I know Bookborn, for example, what she kind of tries to do is when she reads comments, she clicks on her own video and then she just reads the top comments of that video, because as you know, when we go into YouTube Studio, we'll see the most recent comments. And occasionally, especially if I made a video which is maybe a bit more spicy, I try to avoid reading too many comments, because surprisingly, even though you get 99 really positive comments, that one horrible comment has a big impact for some reason. I don't know why psychology is like that, but yeah, you just really remember that one horrible comment better than all the
like I mean, all the in the video about how I got hacked, and most of it's just like supportive, and then there's like that one person who makes me sound like, I don't know, I'm my mom who doesn't know how to use the internet right and stuff like that. And I'm like, yes, you're right, I had no idea what I was doing, so it's just one of those things, you try not to let it bother you. And I always just say I'm just not even gonna respond to it, or just respond to it nicely and things like that. But it's just one of those things. You got to remember, it's 99 to 1, at least 99 to 1 positive on BookTube. Just, you got to roll. Yeah, roll. So how do you come up with these topics? Because you come up with some great topics. I'm always like, Couldn't have thought of that in a million years. I mean, this kind of makes me think of like not in like the abusive kind of way that BuzzFeed used to, but BuzzFeed. You remember BuzzFeed used to always have topics like that? Be like, how'd they even come up with that? Like the top 10 movies from 1987 that feature
What kind of horse are you?
Underwear on their head. I'm like, what? You know? So, how do you come up with these topics?
Yeah, it's a good question. I suppose it comes down to me spending a lot of time brainstorming ideas, thinking about thumbnails. I don't often do it, but occasionally I'll do the thumbnail title first just to see, does this concept work? And if not, I'll just abandon it. So it's a mixture of things, really. But yeah, since I started my channel, I knew there was a gap in the booktube community because a lot of people were doing, and there's nothing wrong with it, like just regular talking head videos. And yeah, I was just thinking, like, if I can make some videos that are really interesting, that people will still watch, but are a bit outside the norm, then there might be some opportunity to grow a channel there. But yeah, spending a lot of time on like brainstorming, really.
And you just kind of so you got popular on Instagram first, right? And then started a booktube channel.
Yes, yeah, I mean that's correct. Originally, when I created my Instagram channel, I didn't even show my face or anything. So I grew up to around 12,000 followers, and then I started showing my face. And then after a while, I don't want to say Instagram became stale, but I just felt like, having watched booktube for so many years and also just want to try something new, I started a booktube channel, and yeah, I'm really happy I did. And I'm also really pleased to see that you have continually grown. Obviously, you know as well as me that booktube, it can be hard to grow fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see that you're still growing. So
really yeah, no, I mean, you have the good weeks and you have the bad weeks, and then you have the weeks where your channel gets taken over, and it puts a hitch in your growth, But I think it's always been consistent. Sometimes peaks and valleys. The way I try to tell people to get discouraged with it. But as for Instagram, it's like I'm like 10 away from finally hitting 10,000. So the thing was, mine was like a personal one that I just kind of just transitioned into one for the channel after, because I wasn't
exactly.
I'd occasionally put like a picture of the dog or a picture of a beer or something. Basically, it was just like when it got big, I wanted to make sure that I claimed the handle on there, and I never really used it.
Yeah, but even now, like I do post occasionally on Instagram, but like if you look at 2024, I might have posted 10 posts or something. I don't want to say I don't use it, but I barely use it compared to YouTube. YouTube has really become my passion. And I mean, there's many things. Obviously, the community is probably bigger and thriving better on YouTube, but also YouTube just gives you incentive to upload. Like you can upload an Instagram post and it's great. Like obviously you're engaging with your fans, but yeah, YouTube definitely rewards you more.
Yeah, I think when I finally got monetized on Instagram, they stopped paying for Reels, and I was like, "Well, thanks." Right when because I got paid 1 month, and I remember you were like, "How did that happen?" And
we didn't get paid in the UK ever.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we're stopping that now." Like, great, right as I became eligible. So I mean, these things happen. Instagram is a great marketing tool, I think, because at least for YouTube, as compared to Twitter, because I did pay for the Twitter Premium to see if it would help. It's actually reduced my engagement since I paid for it. And I look at my analytics, and I get way more traffic from Instagram to YouTube than I do from Twitter to YouTube. Wow. So I think having a presence on that platform first helps a little bit, but it also the other way around. I've noticed it seems like some people, they'll have like 100,000 TikTok followers and they'll have like 3,000 on YouTube. So it's like it's not always a one-to-one success. We just kind of
and I think the most interesting thing is when you see these YouTube channels that have grown really big on doing YouTube shorts, and they will often also try and do long form, but like the long form will get like 500 views, but their shorts will get like 100,000 or even in the millions occasionally. So yeah, those two crowds don't.
I talked to Man Carrying Thing a while back about this, and he's like, "Yeah, I put out a 1-minute video, and it gets like 1 million views, and I'll put out a 15-minute book review, and it gets 300 views." So he's like, it's just some people can make that kind of. I deleted my TikTok. I was like, I'm never going to be. I'm not ever going to be a TikToker. I'm sorry, just. No. It wasn't my brand really. So I
mean, you do the coffee chat every once in a while, don't you?
Yeah. I tried doing those like the shorts. Here's the thing about YouTube is like I would do it as a short, and get nothing, but I will do it as a regular video, 1 minute long, and upload it as a regular video, way more engagement. So I was like shorts. I felt like shorts actually like hurt the channel. Because when I started doing those is when I first started seeing like issues and stuff. So And I hate that they record them like that. They only take up that much of the screen. It's so annoying. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, so your video about fantasy being looked down as literature, is that the one where you said that is epic fantasy dying? Is that the same video? Or are they talking about a new
No,
one?
it's my most recent video. I think it went live like 2 days ago, so you probably haven't seen it.
I was a little busy. Yeah, I'm still trying to get caught up on everything. So
No,
what
that's fine.
what
I
what
haven't watched all your videos even, so
I understand. I understand. So is that kind of like what Philip talks about, just that that it doesn't get taken seriously as a form of literature?
yeah, I have been wanting to do a video on does fantasy have any literary merit or not? So I kind of like looked at some articles, like Brent Sanderson had done an article. I also did like a short interview with Philip Chase, which I inserted in the video, and kind of had a discussion about whether fantasy was literature or not. So yeah, which I definitely think it does have and is kind of looked down upon. But yeah, I used to feel a bit insecure about loving fantasy because I think a lot of people, when they think about fantasy fans, they think about like loners or nerds or something, even though there's nothing wrong with being a nerd. But yeah, it's interesting because I've been to FantasyCon here in the UK, which is a fantasy like book convention. I mean, you go there, like no one is role playing, everyone is like dressed really, really regular, and you just notice like people that love fantasy are also just regular people, really, and intelligent people and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I can get down with this because I think before Game of Thrones was about to premiere, I was trying to get everyone to watch it, and they're like, "I don't want any of your fantasy fairy bullshit, Mike." That's what they treated me like. And then within like 2 years, they're like, "I'm the biggest Game of Thrones fan in the world." I'm like, "Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing!
Yeah.
Remember who you're talking to." But no, as someone
Yeah.
who has been a fan of horror movies and heavy metal music and fantasy books my whole life, all three of those are treated like it doesn't even register as like real, as it's something that people should be paying attention to. So I definitely get that. I saw AR saying something about you did one about AI.
Yeah,
that's an industry.
Yeah, that's a while, like not that long ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I read my master's thesis on the perception and adoption of AI in the publishing industry. And then Bryce O'Connor, I'm not sure if you saw his tweets, but he like did a long thread about AI and basically how he didn't recommend anyone using AI for like cover art and stuff. So it was a good opportunity to take like that controversy, discuss it, and then use some of my research in that video. And yeah, it's something I've been wanting to make for ages. But as you know, like AI and books and publishing is a very hot topic at the moment.
It
so
is.
If you say something, people will be like, "Oh, I have no respect for you anymore," or "I'll cancel you," or something.
Dude, I get people all the time telling me to quit using AI in my thumbnails. I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to do it.
I've also been accused of using AI in my thumbnails. I'm like, I didn't use AI. But what I do think is important is that we need to get to a place where we can at least talk about AI. Because at the moment, it's almost like if you mention AI, it's like people go crazy. And there's many ethical reasons for not using AI, but we need to be able to talk about it because it's not going away.
I feel like I mean, you as someone who has been a student recently, you finally graduate. You finally graduated, didn't you? Yeah. So
Yeah, on my
I went
graduation
back to school in my late 30s, and I remember everything we had to submit, we had to run it through a plagiarism checker. I feel like it's getting to the point where publishing needs to be run through a plagiarism checker because people are having these AIs write paragraphs. It starts as like, help me fix this sentence or this paragraph, and now it's turned into, hey, write this chapter for me. Pretty soon it's going to be like, I need to write a new book. Okay, get to work, AI. And that's just scary, right? That's just scary.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's many benefits of AI, but at the moment, there's so many ethical issues that like we don't have any legislation on where we can use AI and how we can use AI, which is causing a lot of gray areas. So I think that's one of the big reasons why people have a very strong reaction towards it.
I used an AI for the very first time, and it was just the one that Google automatically uses. Because I was trying to narrow down which Dell laptop I should buy. And I was like, okay, I've narrowed it down to 2. Can we compare this one? And I got like a big old comparison thing by this AI that ran through like Reddit threads and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, that's useful. So that's the first time I've ever actually used it. I've never used it for art. I don't write, so I don't know.
I mean, I use, for example, ChatGPT. I'm a huge fan of ChatGPT, and it's really helped with my channel, for example. So whenever I have like an idea, I'll post in like, this is going to be my intro. I'm going to discuss this. The video is going to be split into these 5 parts. Can you give me 10 or 20 potential YouTube titles? And it'll give you 20 YouTube titles. And then often I will maybe combine like some of the ideas, but it's a really good tool to brainstorm as well, like YouTube ideas. Like I kind of want to discuss this. Can you give me some more inspiration? Or can you help me understand that controversy or whatever? It's a really good tool as a brainstorming like assistant,
Okay.
as long as you don't copy. But yeah, also like with thumbnails and stuff, you can ask it like, can you help me think about different thumbnails and stuff like that? And yeah, I just find it as a good assistant. Again, I wouldn't copy anything directly from AI, but
No, I
yeah,
didn't know you
it
could do
definitely
that. I
helps
know
me like think.
my wife's a teacher, and she says she's used it on a couple of things, but
Mm,
so it's not like it's one of those things where I'm like, "No, I refuse to use it." I just don't really know much about it. So it's
no.
really interesting topic to me. Hey, someone wants to
Yeah, yeah.
know if you have you started Sun Eater yet? I believe you have, haven't you?
I haven't. No, I have an Empire of Silence on my shelf. I've had it now for maybe 18 months. I'm hoping to start it this year, but there's like, yeah, some series I want to complete first before I dive into this big series. And I'm also debating if I should finish Red Rising, like the whole series first, before I start Empire of Silence, or if I should actually read The Expanse first, which has been on my TBR for way longer than Empire of Silence. But yeah, I think you and a lot of other people, you're kind of making me feel FOMO. So
I mean, I spent 4 years begging people to read these books, and now it's
mm,
like people are like shaming others who haven't yet. So it's like, hey, I mean, I
mhm,
guess at least it finally did take off, you know. So
yeah.
I'm happy for Christopher in that regard. He's basically about a made man in here. Somebody say Brian is saying that Philip might be an AI. I think that's the only way that Philip is always on everyone's live stream.
That's
He
true.
responds to comments in everyone's videos. He's always in these lives. Like he'll pop up eventually. I know. So yeah, any one of us could be a Cylon for sure. No,
I'm pretty sure Philip, he's smarter than AI, if we're being honest,
I
though.
hope this doesn't make you uncomfortable, but I'm going to bring this up because
Mm.
every time Daniel Green has a different opinion about a book than I do, I get a million comments about Daniel hated this book. What do you think about that? Like he's allowed to have a different opinion because he put out a video
Mm.
about Dark Matter. Dark Matter is a book I loved,
Yeah,
and he put out a video apparently like just completely trashing. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, what do you think, Mike?" I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
he's allowed to have a different opinion. I don't really know. So did you have a chance to catch Matt's rebuttal to your video?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I mean, it looked like it was primarily targeted like Patrick with his thumbnail and title and stuff like that. But definitely some of the points I made, he also covered in his videos. It was kind of a mix of different things. Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that like I'm really glad to have a different voice. Maybe the discussion became a bit more too much on one side that epic fantasy is in a horrible state, and it maybe be good to get some nuance to the discussion. Generally, I did agree with Matt on some of the points, but there's also some points that I definitely disagreed on. And I've actually, I did ask for his permission, but I've actually like recorded a follow-up video because in my Epic Fantasy is Dying video, like you cannot cover everything in the video, and that's what you always get criticism for when you cover something. Is that, oh, you didn't mention this, or why did you just briefly mention this? And I got a lot of comments, for example, that said that they thought I was hating on romantasy, because I mentioned romantasy a couple of times, as publishers are
That
now focusing
thumbnail was
more on
amazing.
romantasy.
Are you kidding? That thumbnail was terrific.
And yeah, and I thought, thank you for your comment on supporting my thumbnail. I really loved it. So I made a follow video. People can watch out for that. Hopefully, I'll publish it next week. But if there's one thing I wish I could have mentioned in my original video, is that my concern isn't with the rise of romantasy. It's more of the fact that it feels like publishers are more and more abandoning epic fantasy to publish romantasy. So if
Right.
both were like thriving, I would be absolutely happy. But at the moment, it just doesn't seem like both are thriving. So that was my only point. There's nothing wrong with loving romantasy, really.
So is your follow-up video going to be to convince me to read Fourth Wing, or
Yes, yeah, I would love to see your reaction.
I went on To to Ramble recently, and they started talking about Sarah J. Maas. I was like, you guys are going to get me to read it just so we could talk about Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah,
I told
yeah.
my wife, look, for a decade straight, you went and saw all these old superhero movies with me. I was like, if you want me to read Sarah J. Maas with you, I will. And she was like, I don't want to read that trash. So I lucked out there, I guess. So I mean, I was like, look, my wife, she loves smut romance books, and she loves fantasy books. I was like, smut romance, that sounds like exactly something that you would love. But she's just so far she's really held out on it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of comments also in that video where people were a bit disgruntled with the fact that I had said that you don't read epic fantasy for the same reason as you read romantasy. And people kind of were thinking that I said you cannot read both or you cannot love both, which was not what I was saying. But again, I don't think it's really that controversial to say that when you pick up Eye of the World, you pick it up for a different reason than when you pick up Fourth Wing. There's nothing wrong with enjoying both, but you don't read them for the same reasons.
My thing that I said about it, and because this started like a big conversation on my Discord with my patrons, is I said I feel like this happens like about once a decade, because I think about back when Twilight first blew up, and you would go into Barnes and Noble, and the fantasy section kept getting smaller, and teen paranormal romance started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like to a point where all you could find in there fantasy wise was the absolute newest releases. Wheel of Time and Lord of the Rings. That was all you could find in there because they shrunk that section to make all these vampire and zombie and supernatural romance books. And now it's like it's happening now with romantasy. It's doing the same thing. So I was like, it's been around for a long time. So I don't think epic fantasy will ever go anywhere. But I'm with you in that this is why I feel like a lot of self-published authors are having a lot of success. I talked with Ryan Cahill about this, and I know you're close with Ryan too. And I feel like it's made it to where I'm, as an epic fantasy fan, I'm much more open to picking up some self-pub now than I used to be. And I'm glad because you don't have all those restrictions, because I know a lot of authors that are still on major labels and they're like, yeah, my publisher is forcing me to write a romance into my story. And I never had one in the first place, you know? So I can see why a lot of these people are going out on their own now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, there's nothing wrong with enjoying romantasy. But I think like inherently most people that love epic fantasy, like you and me, we read fantasy for different reasons than romantasy readers. And again, I don't think that is controversial to say. You can love both, obviously, but they're just two different things. It's like comparing, I don't know, if you love crime and then you love historical fiction or something, obviously you can enjoy both, but they're different. And you read both for different reasons. And it's a bit of a shame. Like I still think that like epic fantasy as we would define it. I know Matt in his video, he said a Fourth Wing was epic fantasy, and Sarah J. Maas and stuff is epic fantasy, which I suppose we can have an argument about if that definition is true. Technically, Fourth Wing is epic fantasy. But I think most readers, when they say epic fantasy, they don't mean Fourth Wing. They mean like Eye of the World, First Law, The Faithful and the Fallen, and books like that. So I think, again, like terminology was also a big thing where people, they define terms differently. When I was doing my video, I defined epic fantasy as, First Law and Wheel of Time and stuff like that. And again, it's a discussion with a lot of nuance. But I'm really glad that Matt did a rebuttal because, again, he did make some good points.
Yeah, Patrick did one as well. So I was like, all right, well, cool. Everyone's just piggybacking off of your content now. So you are a trendsetter now. So that's how you know you've made it. You're a trendsetter now. People are making response videos to you. I don't think I've even gotten any response videos. So that's pretty good, man. You're all everyone. That's why I call it an unpopular opinion. Everybody loves Name of the Wind except me, apparently. So that's why I call it.
I haven't even read it.
You'll probably love it. So there we go.
I will probably love it. I think I will.
You really like Realm of the Eldlings, don't you?
I love Realm of the Eldlings, but my issue at the moment, I'm reading Rainwell Chronicles.
Yes, everybody has an issue right about there.
Oh man, what is the third book called? I don't even have it. Dragons.
Haven.
Yeah.
Haven or City.
Yeah.
It's City of Dragons, ain't it? Yeah, because Blood of Dragons is the last one.
Yeah, City of Dragons, I think.
Yeah. Those 4 books, they just bleed together, man. Woo.
Yeah, they do. They definitely be together. And the third book, I kid you not, and that's the shortest one. It's like 300 pages. I think it's the shortest one in the Realm of the Elderlings. I've spent more than a month reading it. Like, I've finished like 4 other books in the meantime while I've been reading that book. I cannot get through that book.
It's right. The thing was, like, that's why I'm glad I had Philip along with me and we were reading those together, because it was like, okay, I got to get through this so Philip and I can talk about it, because I might have taken a break and who knows if I'd have finished it. And it's worth it. It's worth it once you get past it. I feel like the 3rd and 4th books aren't as bad. They're a little better. But those first 2 in Rainwell are a drag. We're talking like Path of Daggers kind of drag. It was like, oh my gosh, this is like, woo, man. But it's worth it towards the end. To me, I feel like if you like Robin Hobb's style, I think that you have a good chance of liking Name of the Wind, where it's mostly atmospheric. It's very slow burn. It's very much selling on a character much more than the actual storyline of what's going on in the world. So I think you got a chance. I don't know. I feel like maybe if I revisited Name of the Wind, I'd probably like it more than I did the first time. I still don't think I'd find it amazing like everyone else. But I mean, I acknowledge I did my actual, I did that unpopular opinion video on it one time. Just I had like a couple of minutes where my kid's bus got
It's come to haunt you forever and ever.
And
that
it
video.
wasn't. No, it's fine. It's fine because I mean I was truthful in it, but I did an actual review for it, and I was like, dude, I had lots of good things to say about it. It's just when people would sell it as it's the most important fantasy book since Tolkien, then I'm like, well, you might have set the bar a little high. And I don't usually go into books expecting that. You know, I try to let it just kind of live on its own. So I feel like maybe now with different set of expectations, maybe I feel differently. So I made the promise that if it does actually have another book in that series come out, I'll reread them. And I feel like it's a safe bet on my behalf because I'm probably never going to have to reread them. So
no, that's true. Yeah, I mean, from everything I've heard about Name of the Wind, I think I will love it. But at the moment, like the main reason why I never picked it up initially was because it was unfinished, and I heard it was like 10 years since book 2 came out. But like more recently, I just made the decision I won't do anything until he's actually put out that first chapter of his 3rd book. I did make a video again also covering that whole Rothfuss controversy, and I don't know, just everything I learned about Rothfuss recently has just really left a bad taste in my mouth. I will read his books one day, and still I will probably love them and recommend them. So I'm not going to say anything like too bad, but I just don't understand why he is the way he is, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, so I think when you start doing like a fundraiser and then you don't follow through with your part of the fundraiser, that's pretty much the point of no return on people thinking you're a decent person, I guess. Andrew, I for real, Ryan's an awesome guy, and he will reach out to him. He'll give you all kinds of advice if you're willing to listen. He's a great dude. I got his arc, his e-arc in the mail. You get it?
Same.
Yeah, I think I'll take that with me on the trip. It's I'm still not even sure where it takes place in the timeline. But
no, I think it's right before Of Blood and Fire, and it's a short story. So it's probably like 30 pages, so you can probably read it in.
Yeah, but Ryan's short stories are usually like 28,000 words. Yeah,
yeah, it's true. But this was written for an anthology, so it must have been short.
Yeah, they might actually have them on a
yeah,
word
this art here is actually from the first book, I think. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, series is so good. I'm glad Philip's getting into it because I think that's going to be one that Philip really clicks with. So I'm supposed to be talking about that with him tomorrow. I think he's doing. He did the fall in Blood and Fire, so we're supposed to talk about that.
Well, tell me, if we get back to the realms of the Elderlings, the last trilogy, what is it called? The Fool.
The Fits and the Fool.
Yeah, how is it good?
I think it is. I think with me is. I thought that Live Ship Traders was brilliant. That was like everything I wanted Robin Hobb books to be.
It is incredible.
To me, it felt like personally it never reached those heights again. No, a lot of other people prefer Tawny Man. A lot of other people prefer Fits and the Fool. For me, I felt like the way that Tawny Man ends, I felt like that was about as happy of an ending as you were going to get for Fitz. And I felt like Fits and the Fool, for me, what didn't sit right with it is it had been like if Tolkien had decided to take Samwise out of his happy ending and put him right back out and give him a not so happy ending. And that's kind of how I felt about it. And as far as like if you think it's a happy ending or not, that's just kind of your mileage is going to vary on that one. I'm just saying I don't think it was as happy of an ending as he had in Tawny Man. So to me, it felt like it might have felt like a mistake to bring Fitz out of retirement there because you weren't really going to follow. It was like Toy Story 4. Sure, you could because there was enough interest in there, but should you have? Should you have it ended perfectly with Toy Story 3? Why did you need to do it again? Oh, I know why.
I suppose there's always
$1 million, and I can't blame you for that. But Pixar is going to Pixar. But that's the kind of comparison I make. It's like, it was good, and I was happy to see those characters again. And I had a good time with it. And I do think it makes Rain Wilds worth it because if you finish on Rain Wilds, you're going to be like, man, what did I do? So you'll want to get back to those characters again, I think. But a lot of people were like, "Oh, the Assassin's Fate's like the greatest book in the series," and I was like, "Not for me, not for me." I don't say I was disappointed by it, but it just wasn't what I wanted. I felt like Tawny Man's where it should have ended.
Yeah. Why do you think that endings are so important? Like, I don't really have a definite answer for this because you can read like let's take Game of Thrones season 8. Like people loved like most of the seasons, but since the ending was so bad, like people will look back on the first seasons and think almost they are also bad in a way.
Oh, I talk about the revisionist history on Game of Thrones all the time. Like you guys seem to forget that everyone saw you talking about greatest show of all time, and you were counting down your sleeps until season 8, and then after season 8, you're like, oh, actually, it hadn't been good since season 3. Give me a break. So people always have that revisionist history in that regard. With me, look, Stephen King fan. His endings are always a big heated discussion.
Yeah.
Look, does he drop the ball on some endings? Yeah, he's a very prolific author. He's written a lot of books. He's written a lot of endings, and some of his endings, yeah, they'll leave you a little kind of scratching your head a little bit. But to say they're all bad, I don't think so. With most of these authors, it's like they're in a trap because they feel like if they write a happy ending, people are gonna say, "Oh, it's just your wish fulfillment Disney ending." They write a sad ending, people are like, "Well, you got to give me more than that." If they write an ambiguous ending, well, you've got to give me some finality. So I feel like it's just there is no way to please everyone on that. So I think really it's just, I hate to keep saying your mileage is going to vary, but I think it is just kind of what kind of ending is it that you are looking for. So.
Yeah, there must be something with human psychology of we're putting like so much effort and investment into a work, and then we kind of expect the payoff to be there. And if the payoff isn't there, or at least to our taste, then it probably ruins the whole experience. But speaking of Stephen King, so I read 20 Stephen King books, so I haven't read all of them.
I remember when you finished Dark Tower. That's how I found your channel.
Yeah, well, I'm honored. But I read 2 Stephen King books this year, and I just finished Needful Things.
Nice.
And it was so good.
Yes.
It feels criminally underrated.
Yeah. What? Even among King fans, that one's always quite low, and I don't understand it. I was like, I've never seen a community written that way. That's just that alive.
I don't understand. Why aren't more people talk about Needful Things? Like, people always talk about it, The Stand, like these chunky books that he's written, but like Needful Things needs to be up there. I'm not saying it's the best one he's written, but it's definitely one of his best ones for sure. But then I also read Fairy Tale, and
yeah, me and Jaime talked on Monday. We were doing a review for You Like It Darker, the new one that just came out, and both of us were like, "Yeah, Fairy Tale was fine." You know, it's like I wasn't miserable reading it, but it was just like it was. Oh, yeah. I think if you mention Robin Hobb, Scott will just magically appear. So watch out. All-time favorite is Fitz and the Fool. Tiny Man Life Shipper right there. Biggest Hobb mega fan. And he just actually met Robin Hobb recently. So that's just really awesome for you, Scott. I don't know. I hope you held your composure together. You didn't like squeal or anything like that, because I think that would be really, really embarrassing, you know. So I like to think that if I got to meet Stephen King, I'd do the same thing, but I don't know. I'd probably be a little weirded out.
If you ever get to meet Stephen King, bring as many books as you can and get him to sign everything.
Yeah, it's like, these books are heavy. I don't hang on, I got like a flatbed coming to have you sign all this stuff, Steve. Yeah.
Like, my dream is to own a signed Stephen King book, but like minimum on eBay is like $500 minimum for a sign, because he doesn't sign stuff. I don't know why. Like, when he has a new release, he will sign 100 copies for one company, and that's it. Yeah. So they're like impossible to get hold of.
Yeah, I remember like one time I was going to a Stephen King signing. It was in the 90s. I think it was for Gerald's Game, and it was in my city. And so I went to go get in line, and they were the people, the employees were coming telling you, like, if you didn't get here last night, you're not getting in. You know, so it was like, oh, it was too late. You know, I went directly after school. The signing was in like 5 hours. I thought, oh, that'll be enough time. No, the line was too long. So that was the closest I ever gotten. John, I'm just as vulnerable as anybody else out there. That's the thing, is these guys are looking for channels with over 100,000 subs so they can get their stuff. Apparently that's their strategy. You know, they don't want to steal your identity, which is weird. They apparently just want to steal your channel and get you to click a link. So
I'm glad that you didn't lose all your videos as well.
Oh man, I was like, damn. And no, I haven't backed up all of my videos. I've got over 1,000 of them, guys. So yeah. It was going to be a real bummer, but yeah, knock on wood. I mean, I'm so scared of it. I went and bought a new computer.
I totally get it. And yeah, I mean, if there's a risk, it's worth just investing. And also, your computer was old anyway, wasn't it? So you kind of need.
Yeah, it worked out. I'd actually been computer shopping. Like I said, I wanted to get a new laptop and a new computer, because my laptop, I had an old HP from when I went back to school, and it couldn't run anything. And I wanted to make live streaming a little easier, you know, and be able to move my camera around, because my wife and I do that stuff, or the other YouTuber we used to. We're trying to do that again. I thought it'd be much easier if we did that from a laptop than trying to do my computer and transferring it back and forth and stuff. But I needed a new PC because it was really slowing down. And so this just kind of helped me, you know, push the buy button. It was Memorial Day, so they had some nice sales. So I felt like I got a good deal. So it kind of worked out in the end. But, you know, still, anytime you've got to fork over that much money for something you already have, you're always going to be like, you know. But, you know, and then again, everything's like really fast again. So that's not, you know, so
yeah, absolutely.
It's really nice.
So have you started any like really good series this year?
Let's see. I just finished this one. Oops. I just finished this one this morning. This is that
Oh, interesting.
Saga of
How
the
was it?
Forgotten Warrior. This one was a little slower than the first book, but again, this guy, he just continues to find a way to make fantasy like almost like a thriller, and I didn't think that was
Okay.
possible.
Yeah.
So it's really good. Larry pisses a lot of people off. It kind of like he pisses this side of Twitter off the way that Stephen King pisses this side of Twitter off. They're kind of like that in that regard. They're like polar
Okay.
opposites of one another.
Yeah.
So before people say, "Oh, you're only reading books of authors you agree with," Larry Correa and Stephen King, I don't think they could be in the same room without it imploding. So that's definitely not it. For me, guys, it's just about word of mouth, and people have had amazing things to say about those books. And so far, yeah, I'd say it's 2 for 2. So I'm trying to kind of stay away from series this year. Trying to, well, I don't know, series, because we read fantasy, it's always going to be series. But I'm trying to stay away from long series for a minute. I say that as I'm about to start a 7-book R.A. Salvatore series, next month. So I think that it's always going to happen. I think that I'd like to do is what I did with Drizzt, and what I'm going to do with this is like it'll have like, or what Realm of the Eldlings have, where it has like a trilogy, 4 books, a trilogy within a longer series. So Demon Wars is 3 books, a standalone book, and 3 books. So I can just do it as a trilogy if I want to, and it's not going. So I think that's probably the best way to do it. But I don't know. I'm sure I have. I'm just not thinking of anything. What about you? What you probably juggling like at least a dozen new series right now, right?
No. I think I'm, considering how a lot of people in this community are, I think I'm relatively good at actually finishing series.
Oh, that's good.
It does kind of stress me out if I have a series that's been unfinished, that I haven't like picked up the last book or whatever. So I did finish the Dandelion Dynasty this year, a series I started 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I'm hoping that I get that broken binding edition of
I started this
Dandelion. Oh yes, I love it.
So I'm actually reading book 2 at the moment.
Oh yeah, I finished War for the Rose Throne, Peter McLean. That was really good. That was really good.
Someone bought me the first book for my birthday. So
yeah, if you like the Last War, I think you'll like War for the Rose Throne a lot. It's nice. There's a lot of similarities, I think.
So I read quite a lot of chunky books this year, and I still have some chunky books to go. Like I'm a bit worried, but I need to finish Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, and I have like the 3rd book to go. And that book is big
like, which is basically 3 books,
520,000 words. It's like 70,000 words longer than Oathbringer.
Yeah, I tell people that that last book, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, is basically Lord of the Rings long. It's insane how long that book is. I broke it into 2 months. Yeah.
If you look at the audiobook, at least in the UK, they split the last book into 2. And if you combine both of them, it's like 60 hours to listen to that book. 60 hours. That's literally Lord of the Rings. Man. It's madness.
So you're an audiobooker, right? You can audiobook?
I haven't done as much recently, but yeah, I can audiobook.
I wish I could. I see all these. I see like I'm. It's weird because I get these people who tell me like, "How do you read so fast?" And then they're also the same people who are like, "Hey, why is it taking you so long to finish that book?" I'm like, so I feel like I do 4 books a month. I don't feel like that's a lot, because I'm doing eyes only. But I see these people who are getting like, I mean, even if I could do, 8 to 10 books a month, that'd be pretty cool, So I think about when I'm in there washing dishes or something, like pretty cool if I could just like audiobook right now. I try, man, just can't pay attention.
You know what you're doing wrong? You're reading the wrong genre. Go to romance or crime.
I'm trying to think about someone like really acting out one of these romance books, and I'm like, oh my Lord, that's got to be so cringe.
Because like fantasy books are so chunky. Like a 400-page book is like a short book, and most romance books are like 200-300 pages. So yeah, there's a big difference.
I have not read Monster Hunter, but that was the ones. That's actually when Larry Correa got on my radar. Is I talked to Jim Butcher when I got caught up on Dresden Files, and I was like, what am I going to do now that I have to wait? And he recommended Alex Verus and Monster Hunter to me as ones while I wait for the next Dresden Files book, which I'm still waiting for, Jim. But I didn't have to wait for the first 17 Dresden Files books, so I'm not gonna
I need to read more urban fantasy. I read very, very few, and I haven't read any of Dresden yet.
Well, I mean, that's where you should start.
It probably is.
Those are fun because when you read these big, thick ass books, those Dresden Files are just like eating candy right afterwards. It's nice. They're just so I don't want to say they're simple. They're just fun to read. You're just having a good time with them, and there's never where you're like, okay, wait, who is this character? What land?
Mm.
Wait, what happened to their father back 200 years ago? You know, stuff like that. You don't have to remember all that stuff. You know, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the big reasons why I want to complete series, because if there's too big of a gap, you just forget like what happened. You read like 30 books and 2 years goes by and you pick up book 2 in another series and you're just like, I don't
I'm
remember what
usually pretty
happened.
good at it, but I'm not gonna lie. It's been like 2 years now since Malazan. I don't know how I'm gonna go back and understand
Yeah,
everything.
that was one thing I was going to ask you, because I remember I think me and Patrick were on your channel like a year ago, and you said that you had penciled in when you were going to start Malazan, and that is quite a while ago. But
I
you
remember
haven't picked it
exactly when
up.
it was, because we were about to go on a cruise and I was taking Toll the Hounds with me. That because we do it every summer. We go on a trip, and
Nice.
here we are going on another one. So I haven't done it. I tried. I got back. I think I got about 200 pages in it and stopped again. And this time it was because I don't know who in the hell these people are, you know. So I think I might be screwed. I don't know. I don't know.
No. And I think the biggest challenge with Malazan is that I constantly had the question of, has Erickson told me about this person before, or should I know what they're talking about? And I never knew. I never knew if I was supposed to know or if I was not supposed to know, and I found that really, really frustrating.
Yeah, and that's the thing is people are always like, "Oh, don't worry if you don't understand. Nobody understands." I'm like, I'm just not that type of reader, man. I'm just like, I have to understand something, and so it might just be like a me problem. And so now I get the point that when people are like, "Oh, yeah, it's like Malazan," I'm like, okay, well, I might wait. I might like Black Company. People are like, the things that you said you didn't like about Malazan. I don't know if you're gonna like Black Company. A lot of people
I
said this
started Black Company.
about
I DNF Black Company. That first book is
yeah.
short. I was halfway through it and I was like, I cannot do this. It's the driest book I read in my life.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was
So,
I mean, Glenn Cook is considered like the father of grimdark, you know,
yeah,
the one who
he
like
is.
created or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's why I think people always recommended Black Company to me. But once I started talking about how like I don't think military fantasy is my thing, they're like, whoa, well, I got something to tell you.
Mm.
You know, but I got a lot of comparisons with that, but also with Prince of Nothing is one that people always tell me to read. And
Yeah.
Dandelion Dynasty is another one, obviously. And you having just finished Dandelion, do you see any similarities to Malazan with
So
Dandelion?
yeah, actually, I do, except that so Dandelion Dynasty is similar in that the scale is huge, the time scale is really like big as well. A lot of characters, a lot of locations. But the biggest difference with the Dandelion Dynasty and Malazan is that you're actually able to follow the story in Dandelion.
You know what the main plot is? Okay.
You
Yeah.
know what the main plot is. You can follow the moving parts. There's a lot of things going on in Dandelion Dynasty, but it kind of felt like Malazan Light, where the scale was huge and the themes and everything, but it's toned down a bit. You can actually follow along the story. And yeah, it's one of my favorite series now. And
Really?
actually, now having finished Dandelion Dynasty, I'm kind of like, maybe I'm ready to dip my toes now into Malazan, because it feels like a good series to read before. But yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what you think about Dandelion Dynasty, because there's definitely some similarities, but Dandelion is much easier to read.
Well, I
for
was
sure.
texting with Matt the other day from Broken Binding, and he was saying he was going to send me those dandelion ones. I'm like, well, those are so damn pretty. That'll probably make them cut straight to the front of the line, like this Demon Wars one has, just because those are beautiful, you know. And I
Yeah,
can't resist a
incredible.
beautiful book.
It's funny.
You know,
When my YouTube channel was quite new, I made like an announcement for the Broken Binding about that they were going to make a midnight editions, and
yeah.
it's literally taken more than 2 years for that to actually happen. But yeah,
Yeah, because when he first got in touch with me, he's like, "Hey, is there anything that you know, something older that you haven't got that I can send to you?" And I mentioned that. He's like, "Yeah, we ain't got those yet." I was like, "Oh, okay." That was like a year ago, you know. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
good times. No, Prince of Nothing. Though, so I was talking. I was on Dear Doctor Fantasy recently. Philip was putting a hard sell on me on Prince of Nothing, and so I don't know. As far as like Malazan, Cyprian, I don't ever say never with these things. It's just it's gonna be very hard for me to go back. But the thing is, like, I've read 7+ of these meaty ass books that were a lot of effort to get that far into and feel like I kind of for the most part understood what was going on. It's really hard for me just to walk away from it.
Yeah.
Right now, every month I put out a TBR video, and someone in the comments is like, "When are we going back to Malazan?" I don't know. I have no answer. So
No.
I know that I've got
you,
my
though.
spoiler talks on the channel. I can probably go back and listen to my own spoiler talks and kind of remember everything. but that's going to be like 8 hours of content I've got to listen to first.
I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like my taste aligns really well with yours in a lot of ways, and I hugely respect you for actually being able to read that far into malazan. Because I feel like me and yours experience are quite similar, and just the fact that you were able to get so close to the end is like mind blowing. I picked up the series twice, and I DNF'd halfway through Deadhouse Gates twice, and I just couldn't do it. I want to do it again, so we'll see. Maybe I'll give it a third try.
Yeah, I loved Deadhouse Gates. I like that one a lot, but it's just, I don't know. I think Reaper's Gale just killed me. It was just like 6 was amazing. 6 was like the best book by far in the series. Blew me away. I was like, oh man, it's all downhill for me. It's all gonna be badass now. I can't wait. I know who everybody is. And then book 7 is just like, yeah. So it's just, I think it just killed me a little bit. So
yeah. The thing with long series as well is that if you don't read a long series that is massively popular, then it's not really rewarding as a booktuber to like spend, 100 hours or 200 hours reading a series that almost no one knows or cares about. Obviously, you still need to read stuff that you want to read. So I still read long series that are relatively unpopular, but yeah, I don't know. You kind of just have to take all these factors into account when you pick up a new series, I suppose.
Discworld, I didn't dislike what's it called? Color of Magic. I didn't dislike it. I just was confused by it, which a lot of people told me it would be. So I have Light Fantastic. Not doing it. Probably going to do it in July. And I know that Discworld fans and Turtles are already like, I told you, don't do that. Read it this way. That's the biggest thing with Discworld fans. They beg you and beg you and beg you to read it, and then yell that you're reading it the wrong way. Yeah. But again, passionate fan bases are going to be like that. That's okay. So I plan on doing that in July. But like I said,
that is also a series I DNF'd.
Yeah, a patron sent me 5 books. I'm like, those are the 5 that I'm going to read. Those are the ones that I'm going to read first. But as far as right now, no, it's not like I hated it kind of thing. I'm never going to go back to it because everyone told me, what Color of Magic was like, that it's not going to be something that grabs you big time. I saw some of those Hitchhiker's Guides kind of stuff in that I liked enough to be interested. I like his writing style enough. I just like hoping maybe you can put some direction in your plots from now on. That'd be kind of what I'd be more into. So yeah, I'll get back to it.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed Mord, but I think I read 5 books by Pratchett, and I really enjoyed one. Like humorous books that just don't really work for me. So it's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, it is what it is. Like Kings of the Wild, Hitchhiker's Guide, Good Omens, all of those books they're well written, but I just don't enjoy them.
So you don't want to laugh with your fantasy, huh?
No, so the humor I enjoy is like the humor you find in First Law, where the aim is to be grimdark, but it has sprinkled some humor into the novel. When the novel is written to humor you and just be hilarious, also like Murderbot and stuff like that. I don't know.
Dude, I don't get Murderbot. Everyone was so high on that book, and I just read the first one. Like,
I think, and I love Daniel Green, but I think Daniel Green is to blame here. He loves that series so much.
No. I mean, I was like, I guess I could give book 2 a try, but people are like, if you didn't like the first one, you probably ain't gonna like any more of them. I was like, say no more.
I read the first 2, and they're so short, but they were a slog for me, which is crazy to say.
Right. If your book is 80 pages and it can't hold my attention, then
yeah. Okay. And the jokes just didn't land, did they? Okay,
no.
I have to ask you, have you dipped your toes into progression fantasy?
Dude, I tried doing Cradle. I don't get it. I still feel so bad because I think 2 patrons got together and actually bought me like the entire series of Cradle that was out at the time. They bought me like 11 books.
Wow.
I couldn't even finish the second one. I was like, why did you guys think that I would like this? It has like no character work. It has no plot. It's really just about them leveling up. And I was like, why did you guys think that I would like this? You hear me all the time. If you got great characters, I like your book, And they're like, oh, well, character work isn't really the thing in that story. It's that genre. I'm like, no. So I felt bad that they sent me so much stuff. And you could be like Brian in the comments here, who's like, hey, I hear to tell you that Cradle really gets good in the second half of book 12. I was like, you mean the last book?
Second half of book 12.
Yeah, so
I've heard book 3. That's where it gets good. That's what people tell
That's
me.
what Patrick told me, but Patrick also told me, look, if you don't like this, this, and this, man, he's like, yeah, it's not going to be a series for you. I was like, look, I love playing Final Fantasy. I don't want to read about grinding to level 99 XP. I don't want to read about this. So I think it was the second book I was in it, and a character had been caught and put in prison, and the rest of his party shows up to save him. And he's like, get me out of here. I'm like, no, you need to fight this monster first so you get to the next level. And I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck am I reading? Just do it across. Forget it. It's not for me.
No, like I do want to read some more progression fantasy just to try and understand the genre a bit more, because it's gaining so much attention at the moment, especially in self-publishing. But yeah, 𝕤𝕠𝕟, I totally agree with you there. I read the first 2 books, and the first one I was like, okay, I've heard it's the weakest book. There's some potential, but Soulsmith was genuinely one of the worst books I read last year. At least if I judge according to my enjoyment. Don't get me started. I didn't enjoy anything about that book.
Yeah, I think Dungeon Crawler Carl is like another one that people say maybe you'll like this. It's that same job. You'll probably like it a little more. I did buy that one on digital. Don't have any immediate plans for it, but I say if I did go back to it, that would be the one. Is Legends and Lattes that same thing? Because Matt Broken Binding actually sent me that one. I don't even know what that is.
Legends and Latte is cozy fantasy, but it's definitely not progression fantasy. It's just good vibes.
To me, it's either fantasy, it's sci-fi, or horror. I don't know where they got to like put these subgenres on everything. So,
well, you know Grimdark. So if you know Grimdark, you can add progression and cozy fantasy. But I don't know. I don't understand progression fantasy, but I want to read some more before I give up on that genre totally. But yeah, I read a couple of shorter progression fantasies this year, and yeah, as you just said, when a character has to level up to go to the next stage, it's just like, I don't know, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know if I'd count Ready Player One as progression fantasy. I think I would just call that nostalgia bait, because really all that was for people in my age bracket to just be like, oh, I remember all these things that were great in the 80s too. You know, I felt like that's all it was. Because I liked the book when I read it, but in hindsight, the more and more I think about it, I'm just like, that book really was just like, hey, may the force be with you. You know, hey, Star Trek, haha, cool. And it's like, really, that's really all that book was. Hey, Rush, that's a good album, you know. And I was like thinking back to it, I was like, yeah, there really wasn't really a plot in that book, was it? You know, so I feel like maybe that's like nostalgia bait a little bit. I know that
that's probably true.
After Stranger Things, nostalgia 80s horror has become like a big thing. And I read my best friend's Exorcism was really good. And I was like, okay, so I'm probably the target demographic for stuff like that. But I don't know if I'd call it progression fantasy. I don't know.
I don't either.
What's the difference between progression fantasy and lit RPG? I don't even know what the difference is.
No, that is a good question, and I don't have an answer. I think there must be some overlap, right? Because I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm not into that to know.
Really. I don't think Brandon Sanderson is Frank Herbert in style. I don't know. That's really weird. I think Christopher Rocchio probably could. I mean, a lot of people bring up the comparisons, which I don't get. I don't. Besides the fact that they both take place in outer space and they both have shields, that's really the only common things I see between Sun Eater and Dune. But I think that Christopher could probably play in that sandbox a lot better than Brian Herbert or Kevin J. Anderson has probably. But Brandon Sanderson, I don't know. Some people said that White Sand was kind of Dune-ish, and I didn't get it. I was like, okay, they both take place in a desert. Great. Is that all it takes now? So I don't know. It's a good question.
So I mean, speaking of White Sand, are you planning on doing more like manga and stuff like that?
No, I am going to be starting Skypiea. That's the next One Piece deal. Okay. I'm going to be taking that with us on the trip. But I really want to do Vagabond. You can see this huge lit up thing right here of Vagabond. And when talking to Philip, he was saying that he wanted me to do Vagabond. I was like, look, Philip, I had planned to finish Vinland Saga and start Vagabond, and then all you pushy bastards got me to do One Piece, which has 1 billion freaking chapters, and I'll never, ever read anything else. So I think maybe I'll get to a point where I take a break with One Piece and maybe I try other things. But yeah, there's tons of manga. So I think I got the whole series of Attack on Titan to do, you know, and which people carry on about. Vinland Saga. I still haven't done the 20th Century Boys or 19th Century Boys, whatever the one. I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's several that I have listed that I want to do. And like I said, One Piece just kind of cut the line when people sent me over 100 volumes. You know, which I'm thankful for. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
They're awesome
Yeah,
sets. I'm looking at them right here. I mean, they're awesome sets, and it's really
cool.
amazing kindness that they would send me all this stuff. You know,
Absolutely.
especially since they don't watch the videos when I make videos for them.
Wow.
But I don't know. I think I've got more manga than I'll ever be able to read. But for me, I'm really streaky. I won't read any comics or manga 8-9 months, and then I'll read like 30 volumes. You know, so.
I've never read a manga in my whole life, and I don't have anything against the genre at all. My only issue, and maybe you can tell me how you decide what you pick up, I'm worried that if I started reading manga, I think I'll probably love it, but then I'll have that constant question of, do I pick up a book here or do I read a manga? Like, it feels like I'll have to split my time between those two things. So
yeah, that's why I have to put it on my schedule, or else I won't do it. You know, and that's why that's why I'm kind of streaky with it. Because I mean, I think when I first finally accepted, okay, American comics suck right now. Let me finally try Berserk. And I loved it, you know. And then I started doing Death Note, you know, and I was like, okay, this is great. This is actually really, really well written stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cutting into my regular time. And that was the thing, is like, that's when you'll start noticing you'll get the new audience that wants you to do nothing but manga content. And a lot of booktubers fall into that trap, and they do. Look, I want to say trap because they're very successful that way, obviously. And they'll change their channel to a manga channel. Whereas I was like, I'm always going to be about good old written word. That's what I'm going to do on this channel. I will do some manga stuff, and I wasn't able to retain any of those viewers that hopped over when I started doing Berserk, and that's why my One Piece videos don't do very well, you know. But it's one of those things where you just got to decide if you can find a balance on your channel with it or not, and got to try to find a balance with it in your schedule, because there's so much of it. You'll want to just keep reading, because it is a little easier to read comics, I think, than it is to read a book.
I mean, you flip the pages more often, don't you?
Yeah. You feel like you're always making progress, you know. But like I said, then you got something like One Piece, which is just huge. It's just massive, and it just never ever is going to end. And I think that's, I guess it's supposedly it is in its. I don't know, he says it's in its final run, but I'm like, is it though? You know, you're going to be finding a new audience now with the TV show being a hit. I think that maybe you're going to, maybe we got another good 20 years left in me here. I don't think these things ever really truly end. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, if I ever started manga, I almost feel like I would want to create a new channel to just say like Library Viking reads manga or something, to kind of not split my audience. But I don't know. At the moment, it's not on my. It's not really on the table to start reading manga.
Yeah, that's what Murphy did. You know, she changed her main channel into manga and split off the book reviews, and she has way more success with the manga one than she does the book reviews, which is just wild to me. But it's just, manga's massive. I mean, like, my kid, my oldest, could give zero shits about anything that I read in here, but he will walk over broken glass to talk One Piece. You know, he's all about it. So I think that's just.
I watched the Netflix adaptation, and as someone that hasn't read a single page of One Piece, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
But yeah, it was definitely fun, as you
say.
All
right, now they're naming alternate channels for me. My third channel should be Mike's Manga Reviews. My fourth channel, Mike's Bitcoin Advice. All right. The Bitcoin stuff's going to be great for a while. I was already thinking, like, dude, next year for April Fool's Day, I'm totally going to make a Bitcoin video.
You should.
Be like, books aren't moving the needle anymore. It's time for some Bitcoin advice. Yeah, that could be good.
That's hilarious.
So what do you got on the horizon? Any big series or new releases or anything? I mean, are you reading Bloodsworn, John Gwynn? Are you going to be there for the release of the new book? Yeah,
definitely. I'm very, very excited for the third book in Bloodsworn. I know it's still 7-8 months away, but since we just had the cover for The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, I'm really, really hyped for that. I actually met Joe Abercrombie last month, and I got like a sample. I haven't read it because I feel like if I start reading the sample, I'll just want to read the whole thing. So I'll just wait until the ARCs or at least finished copies come out. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for the heroes. Otherwise, I'm not sure if I'm excited for Ryan Kyle's next book, but I think that's still quite far away. So yeah, what about you?
I mean, I would love to read The Devils. I'm with you. I don't do this just sample chapter thing. It just I feel like anytime I do a sample chapter, like, I think this is another thing that George R. R. Martin scarred me on. is he did those sample chapters for Dance with Dragons for years, and then when the final book came out, they were different.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, why am I going to do that if it is never going to come out? So I just say usually I will wait with stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have more success with arcs than I do, because I got to the point where I feel like I have to just fight like hell to get one. To where the point like if you want to send me one, send me one. If not, I'm not going to beg for an arc. So I just got to the point now where I'm like, look, if they send me one, cool. If not, I'll read it on release day with everyone else, and I can talk with you about it when I get it. But it's so weird. Sometimes they'll just send me one. Other times they just completely ignore me. And I think the breaking point for me was just like when even Pierce Brown's like, this guy has sold a shit ton of books for me. Can you please send him one? They still wouldn't send me the newest book. And Pierce had to send me one of his personal arcs of that book, where I was just like, I'm done with this game. I can't anymore. So it just overly frustrated me with that, to where, again, you want to send me cool. If not, no big loss.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? I do have some luck with some publishers. Like I'm on some mailing lists, so whenever they have arcs, they will send out an email and you can apply for one. And so like Golan's, I have like a reasonably good relationship with. But like Orbit is one of the publishers I've tried to get into contact with probably 3 or 4 times since I started my channel, and for some reason they don't seem interested. They've sent me some stuff, but I know they have a mailing list, and I know they have a lot of creators that are, it's not supposed to sound proud, but that are smaller than me, and they're receiving like monthly emails from Orbit, and I'm not, even though I've asked like multiple times. So I don't really understand. It's very inconsistent, but I can wait until release date. So
that's the thing I talked about. Is like I think it was when I did the new Dresden Files book, and I got it like 6 months early, and like huge things happened in it, and I couldn't talk with anybody about it for 6 months. Where I was like, you know what, maybe it's not so bad to just read these on release date, so you can talk with everybody else anyway. But it just baffles me, because Orbit's a big one, Tor's a big one, where they'll send me some stuff, and then other times it's just completely crickets. But I think once I talk with a lot of these authors, and they're just as frustrated with it as we are about it, I understood. It's just they got the wrong people in charge of things like that. So Bane, I think Bane's the only one, because Christopher's over there, and Christopher will just go straight to his editor and be like, "Can you send this to this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. We'll get in the middle of the day." So Bane's about the only one really that I get, anything that I ask for, and that's why they keep sending me these lovelies on hardcover. So.
They are published. Okay, those are beautiful. Yeah, with NetGalley, what I did initially, and that was before I started my booktube, or maybe my booktube was very, very new, but I read a lot of the free books just to get my percentage up. Like I found like free short books, and I just read them, and then I just posted reviews, because I know also that has an impact on, like some publishers will literally just look at how many books have you reviewed, and if you have a good ratio, they'll just approve you. So if you haven't read many books on NetGalley, that can kind of work against you. So, but it's weird. It's kind of a maze.
It's a struggle, I think. But hey, again, to me, reading it along with your audience isn't so bad. I mean, I don't feel like there's anyone anymore, because I think we've talked about this plenty, is when it comes to like single book reviews, those don't really move the needle very much with audiences. No. And so it's like, I don't think anyone's waiting for my release day review of a book to decide if they're going to read it or not anymore, because they won't even watch it unless they've read the book, So it's I don't feel like it's a big deal that I gotta get this and read it early to let people know if it's worth their time or not anymore.
But are you hyped for Stormlight Archive 5 or not?
I am because I gotta get this comment up here. So he stays on brand. Boyd, I appreciate it. Boyd, I'm going to be doing Silo finally. Off of your recommendation, I'm giving it a real try this go around. So I'm excited to do that, because he's the one who put that one on my radar. But anytime I do anything that is not science fiction, Boyd gets very, very disgruntled with me. But he's not wrong. Book reviews do kind of suck. They don't really do very much. But Stormlight Archive, look, I was not wild about book 4, but knowing that book 5 is basically the end of this saga of Stormlight, guys, 5 and 5, and know what we know about the Sanderson, about how his endings are amazing. I'm sure it's just going to be incredible. And obviously the flashback character is a character I actually care about in that, because book 4, I was like, I don't care about this flashback character. is doing
I
anything
don't even
for
know who
me.
that is. I haven't read Rhythm of War yet, and I have no idea who they'll do the flashbacks for in Rhythm of War.
It's not what you're wanting. Just put it that way. It's like there's so many great characters. Why can't they you've used one of them, instead of some new character? And also, it's so much of how the sausage is made. How does Stormlight work? That's what that book was so much of. And then a recycled storyline from one of the Wheel of Time books that Brandon Sanderson wrote.
Okay.
And so it really, really frustrated me. And at the time, I got grilled for saying I didn't like the book very much. You can actually look in your analytics and saw like I lost like 1,000 subscribers because I said that like I did not think Rhythm of War was a very good Stormlight book, or is my least favorite. But yes, I'm very excited for 5 because I feel like that was just the setup book for what's happening in book 5. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll be reading on release day, no doubt. Because I know Tori isn't going to send me an arc.
Well, I remember, again, like I hadn't even started Stormlight Archive when Rhythm of War came out, but I remember both Daniel Green and also Murphy, they maybe weren't as negative as you, but they weren't like praising that book up to the skies either. They were all also, kind of in agreement with you on some of those points. But I finished 𝕤𝕚𝕜𝕣𝕟𝕠 quite recently, maybe 2 months ago, and I enjoyed 𝕤𝕚𝕜𝕣𝕟, but it was definitely not as good as Way of Kings or Words of Radiance, in my opinion.
Words of Radiance was just 10 out of 10, man. I loved it. So I felt like anything and I thought, remember that was coming out when 𝕤𝕚𝕜𝕣𝕟 was coming out. I was so excited. I was like, Dalinar, that's my character. I've been waiting for this book. And it's just, it was a chore in some places to get through. But in hindsight, it's quite good because Rhythm of War, well, I'll see what you think.
That's the thing. I'm a bit worried. It feels like I read the best of Stormlight and it's just going to go down from here. But hopefully I will actually love Rhythm of War. We'll see.
See, and that isn't like that's like the unanimous talking point. I mean, a lot of people did enjoy it, and they did. Just, to me, it's like if you don't care about Vinley, the flashback character, it's going those flashback sequences are going to be kind of rough for you, and they're a large part of the book.
Really.
So, but I mean, there's some good stuff in there. I'm not burying all that, but it was one that like. When it was over, I was glad it was over. And usually with a Stormlight book, it's like, oh God, I got to wait 3 years for the next one, And I really just wish that he's such a successful and prolific writer that I just feel like I wish he wasn't so successful. So he would just focus on writing Stormlight Archive instead of writing 9 other series in between. Because he's saying after book 5, he's taking like an 8-year break before we get book 6. I was like, all right, so book 5's the end for me, It's like I don't feel like another series that I'll be living till the end of,
Have you read any of the secret projects?
I read 𝕤𝕗. That's the only one I actually own. But I read 𝕤𝕗 and I liked it. It was fun. It was probably the most fun I've had in a Cosmere book in a while. So I was really happy to get that. But I mean, I'd rather see like something like a return to like Warbreaker or something like that if he was going to do something else in the Cosmere that isn't Stormlight. But I'm just so hyper focused on Stormlight. I wish he would do more of that and less of everything else because Mistborn Era 2 was kind of a miss for me. I didn't even read the last book in that one. And I haven't touched anything outside of the Cosmere.
No. Yeah, Mistborn Era 2 was a big disappointment for me as well. Initially, when I read the last book, so basically I read the first 2 books. I almost hated them. Took like months break, and then I started the Era 2 again. And now my second try, I enjoyed it more, but it's nowhere near Mistborn Era 1. I read 𝕤𝕗. I thought that was all right. I read Yuumi and the Nightmare Painter, and that was quite good actually. I quite enjoyed Yuumi and the Nightmare Painter, but I haven't read Sonnet Man yet. So he writes so fast.
I think the Frugal Wizard or whatever, that was one that like everybody on my Discord was trashing. They did not like that one, but they liked all
I'm
the
not picking that one up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like even all the stuff I've went through with Brandon Sanderson, I was like, I feel like the worst book was 𝕤𝕜𝕟𝕠𝕟, and even that was still readable, So I was like, I feel like he's super, super talented author. Obviously, I get greedy, and I'm like, I'd love to see more of just Stormlight because I was like, we're really waiting like how long we had to wait between Star Wars movies at this point for another Stormlight book, and that's just like, back when they took their time with Star Wars content, they weren't like, hey, here's more. It's just, you actually had to wait for these things back in the day. That was the comparison I went to. I don't know why. But I don't want to go down that thing where I just start ranting about Star Wars. But, hey, you grow up with something and they turn
Star Wars is one of those things that I've never been. And again, like I was born in the 90s, right? So I didn't grow up like watching the original movies. But I watched all the movies. I think I watched all the movies. I haven't watched any of the TV shows, and I thought all of them have been all right. I haven't never been like fully immersed in the Star Wars universe, but I never hated it either. It's just one of those things that it's fine.
Hey, it's just one of those things you gotta grow up with something really to
Yeah.
like, for example, I know people generation after me that think that Monsters Inc. is like the best Pixar movie. I'm like, really? That probably wouldn't be my top 10. You know, I just think it's just if you grow up with something like that,
That's the thing.
obviously.
Yeah, it has a huge
Like there's
impact.
there's people who grew up with the prequels when they were kids and they don't have any problems with the Star Wars prequels, you know, because they grew up with them. So yeah, I think when you're younger and idealistic and you aren't quite a critic, you're gonna like things a lot. Like so I've been trying to show my oldest kid like all these cheesy 80s movies that I like before he gets to the point where he's old enough to realize they suck.
Yeah.
You know? So because I think up until you're about a teenager, you'll watch stuff and just be like, "Hey, cool, it's entertainment for a couple of hours." And then you start getting critical and thinking everything's garbage, you know. But
Are you gonna watch The Hunt for Gollum?
I mean, Peter Jackson's involved. I mean, I could see myself giving it a chance before I would like Rings of Power season 2. But it's I don't know. I mean, just like where I complained about them doing a second and third season of Shogun when they already adapted the entire book, and everybody talks about, well, you know, Handmaid's Tale did that, and I was like, yeah. And how did Handmaid's Tale go after season 1? Anyhow, it's just one of those things where if you are a fan of the book and they've adapted the book, what's frustrating about with Shogun is that was such an amazing adaptation, so faithful. They always stayed faithful to the book, and now they're going to decide to do their own thing with it. And it's just it could be good. That's the thing. It's like it could end up being good. And I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it because I love the cast and I love everything they've done, the work they put into it.
Yeah.
It just feels cheap, you know. I was like, there's 6 other books in James Clavell's series that they could adapt one of those. You know, why they got to do this? But
yeah,
I don't know. It's
they can never leave stuff alone. It's so annoying, isn't it? Again, maybe Shogun season 2. Again, I haven't started Shogun season 1 yet. I will watch it, and I'm expecting to love it. But yeah, every once in a while, it would be nice for just a series to end.
Pretty much the first season of Rings of Power, the most amusing stuff I got out of it was listening to Scott complain about it on the Discord every day, every week when a new episode came out.
You know, I never even watched past episode 2. So I think when season 2 comes out, I will actually watch season 1.
Hey, have you read Percy Jackson? J93 wants to know.
No, I haven't. I have read none of them. They were not big at all in the Faroe Islands where I'm from. It was all Harry Potter where I was from. So yeah.
Oh, it was Harry Potter here too. It's just Percy Jackson just was something I felt like again, like the generation after Harry Potter really latched onto. And I've read the first like 7 of them with my kid, and he loves them. But my kid's all into Greek mythology and stuff, so he loved it. It was exactly what he was looking for. But even he will acknowledge it's not as good as Harry Potter, but it's pretty dang good, you know. But I think it's fun. It's just one of those things you don't take it too seriously and realize it is, you know, middle grade books. They really are. But you know, if you've got someone like I have, you have an audience it's a lot younger that you're reading it with. I think that's a little more enjoyable. But no, to me, it's like Harry Potter is that thing that my kids will pass down to their kids and their kids kind of thing. And I don't think that Percy Jackson will get that. But I don't feel like he has to. You know, I don't feel like it. Oh, it's good, but it's not as good as the greatest thing in that subgenre. No, I don't think that's really should be the measuring stick for success on some of these things.
No, I'm not sure if you're ever going to have something similar to Harry Potter. I feel like with social media, like the algorithm, they're being like customized to different people and stuff. So not everyone sees the same thing. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Percy Jackson.
Do this, Brian. They should combine Shogun season 2 with the Hunt for Gollum, and where Tornaga's hunting Gollum. There we go. No, and I've said that, and I get crap for it all the time. Is saying that I don't think we'll ever see in our lifetimes the world stop to go stand in line to get a book ever again, like they did with the last Harry Potter book. And people all the time are like, "Oh, when Doors of Stone or Winds of Winter comes out, like those don't have mass appeal like Harry Potter did, where like every age, gender, religion, belief system out there was reading Harry Potter." They're not all reading Patrick Rothfuss. They're not all reading Song of Ice and Fire. I mean, in our circles, it might seem like that. But I was like, those books don't even sell as much as Dan Brown. You know, they don't even sell as much as Sarah J. Maas. I was like, you're talking about the world stopping to read a book. That'll never happen in our lifetimes again.
And also don't forget that like media has evolved. So like now we have ebooks that are much more like spread. And same with like games. Like people don't stand in lines anymore to buy a video
Yeah,
game.
everything's instant. Yeah,
They can just
yeah.
download it. So yeah,
But I mean,
I
if you were to
totally agree
put
with you.
like that comparison and say that the world would stop while everybody waits for the new something book to download to their e-reader so they can skip work and read it, I just don't think we'll see that again in our lifetimes.
No.
It's just wild.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But yeah, Harry Potter, it's yeah. But I didn't hear about Percy Jackson until I moved to the UK. That was the first time like I started hearing people talk about that series along with Harry Potter. But,
Jacob wants to know about Dark Matter, the adaptation, and the changes. Don't want to sound like a big name dropper here, but me and Blake Crouch talk a lot. And I've actually been every week. He was just asking me, "Hey, did you watch a new episode? What do you think? I'd love your feedback." So we've been talking every week. And what I think the actual message that he sent me, I was just saying, I bet up this. And I was like, I'm assuming that change or that addition was your idea. And he's like, I wrote 100% of the show. He's like, so if you like the changes, I wrote them. If you don't like them, well, I also wrote those too.
oh, really?
But I told
him
there was a plot hole, not a plot hole. There was just something in the book that really was inconclusive. You never know what happened to a specific character. And I told him, I was like, well, the expansion that you're making on the show, I'm hoping we get to know what happens to that character. He says, you will get to find out what happens to that character. So I'm excited. I love it. I think the adaptation is very good. And yeah, it just kind of makes me want to read the book again. My wife started reading the book because she's loving the show so much. But Blake Crouch and I are going to get together after the show ends and talk on the channel. It's going to be very exciting for me. So Blake's a really super awesome guy. But I need him to write another book because I'm almost done with his entire bibliography at this point.
I've only read 2 books by Blake Crouch, and I read Dark Matter late last year, and I read it within 24 hours. I loved it.
So good.
I'm just waiting for all the episodes to come out for Dark Matter, and then I'll watch all of it. So I'm very excited. I hope the adaptation is good. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's like stuff in the book, like you only see stuff from Jason's point of view. In this, you see stuff from Jason 2's point of view as well. And it's like, oh, wow. So it's like he really completely like not rewrote. He just like wrote additions to it, whereas the main story is staying the same. And he's expanding some things in a good way, in really the best way.
And then, like Daniel Green, he recently read it, and he did not enjoy Dark Matter at all.
And
I was like,
did you hear that Daniel didn't like Dark Matter? Yeah, I heard.
I was like, I loved Dark Matter. It was one of my favorite reads of last year. But maybe I didn't have my critical glasses on or something. I just felt it was just so exciting and immersive.
I think it's just when you're dealing with thrillers and you're dealing with like with what Moyd's saying here, but he says he's got plot holes. Are kind of like when you deal with these people who have read super intricate, detailed fantasy and sci-fi stories. Yeah, his books are going to kind of seem like, and they get this from Michael Crichton too. His books are going to kind of seem like middling to you because they do really dumb down the science because they don't want to throw a bunch of quantum physics at you and stuff. So I think where you got like Moyd who reads like Alistair Reynolds and Peter F. Hamilton, people that melt your brain with the science. Yeah, sure. It's probably going to seem like Walmart fiction to you.
Yeah.
But for people like me who grew up reading Michael Crichton because he was able to put science fiction, really heavy science into his books, but for dummies, you know, it made it just always be like, okay, cool. I feel like I'm included.
It's a bit more mainstream, isn't it?
Yeah. So you're always going to see that. But again, with Daniel, I think that maybe he just wanted every single little thing kind of explained. And you don't get he explains what Schrodinger's cat is in the book, and then cool, kind of go with it from there. He doesn't tell you how does the box work, how does this work, how does the multiverse work. We don't know, because there's a lot of it that we don't know. So yeah, it's gonna happen that way. I got the Walmart fiction, John. I got that when I talked about how much I love Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. It was a Walmart fiction, is what I got told.
So good.
I was like, it's a badass book, man. Not everything has to be like a freaking Nobel Peace Prize winner because of its science. Wow, that's how I feel about it, at least. I like a good thriller.
No, Project Hail Mary is one of my favorite standalones as well. I whenever I read hard sci-fi, so like Adrian Jankowski or whatever, I just feel like, am I stupid or what?
Well, I got some people in the comments here telling me everything in Dark Matter is stupid. So maybe I'm the dummy.
Maybe we are. Maybe I am stupid. That's kind of what I felt with. Also, again, coming back to Malazan. I'm like, I
expected this war in the comments to be over what I said about Brandon Sanderson, but apparently now it's a war over if Dark Matter is good or Dark Matter is dumb. So look, I love it. I love Dark Matter. I think Blake Crouch is a great writer, and I love his ideas. To me, again, growing up a big Michael Crichton fan, he's been the closest I've found since. So that's my favorite non-fantasy contemporary author right now is Blake Crouch.
What else should I read Dark Matter and Recursion. Have you read Upgrade? Is it
Yeah,
good?
yeah, all of them. I'm just sort of reading backwards, but for you, I say Wayward Pines. Wayward Pines is so good.
Okay. Yeah.
Wayward Pines
Is
is
that
awesome.
a crime or is that also sci-fi?
It's a little bit of everything. It's a mystery, really. It kind of
Okay.
drops you in the middle of like a Twin Peaks kind of setting, and you just got to kind of
Yeah.
try to figure out what's going on. It's a trilogy, but man, they read so quick.
Do they?
Yeah, they're so good. Mm.
Well, I need to get to them. Yeah.
Oh, see this? We know who we know who wears the pants in that family. Jeez.
Oh,
So
that's
we got
fine.
lots of comments here about some of your videos here. You got a video on indie fantasy. Is that the one where you about how Ryan Cahill was able to break through and figure out the code?
Yeah, I'm actually not 100% sure which video this channel is referring to. I did a couple of books on indie fantasy quite a while ago now, so I kind of should make some more videos. But yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed them. Thank you for that.
What's your most watched video at this point? Do you know which one has the most views?
Oh, come on, you should know. Obviously, it's going to be a top 10.
Yeah, sure. Top 10. Which one is it? Just your top 10 fantasy series?
Yeah, I think I have a couple of videos that have performed like the best by far, and yeah, I think it's like top 10 fantasy series according to BookTube, and then my favorite. Let me just have a look at. Yeah, so I did want a top 20 fantasy series of all time where I like combined all the BookTube lists out there into one, and then I've done one where I've done my own top 10 list, which has also performed well. So, and I'm actually gonna upload an updated list hopefully tomorrow. So hopefully that will.
Yeah, it's so weird that my biggest video on my channel is my top 10 horror novels because horror content
Yeah.
does nothing on my channel. So it's weird. Every time I start to think, okay, that's when it's finally tapering off, another Halloween rolls by, it goes up again. That one just kind of just always stays there. But I got a couple. I update my top 10 fantasy series like every 2 years, and those
Mm,
but still, it's for me, it's Kindle videos. Those old Kindle videos still like crazy. And I'm like, even though those Kindles have been phased out pretty much at those point, those
mm,
videos still get a ton of traffic. So it's weird. It's really weird.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, lists, like I've sometimes been criticized, maybe not so much recently, but like 4 or 5 months ago for making a lot of videos with lists. But people click on them and they enjoy them. And they're also easy to make because you have a good structure and stuff
yeah.
like that. So I don't know. I think there's some people are just loud that like to hate lists, but generally people quite enjoy lists because they
I
know
try
that
to
they're
do them, because people do want them, but I'm trying not to be just those,
yeah,
so
no, exactly.
I try to keep it spaced out to when I do them. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's no denying that
yeah.
people love them. I mean, they go crazy for them, and that's why I kind of joke here. Top ten videos. You probably could do that at this point. But
One of
it
my
is.
best performing videos is a video where I covered like Sarah J. Maas like chapters she added to different editions. So that's also one of the weird ones that just blew up on my channel. A video by Sarah J. Maas.
I think the one that when I was on your channel when you did like the agree or disagree, that one did pretty good for you. I thought
Yeah.
that was funny because I think there was one where you asked some question and I almost spit my coffee out like legit. It was pretty good. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun talk.
Yeah. I'm gonna do some more of those hopefully soon. I have one scheduled for later this next month, but we'll
That's
see.
like I don't know, almost like unpopular opinion in real time. That's good. That's good because you
Mm,
get some really I don't want to say hot takes, but you can get some surprising answers, I think, doing it that way. So yeah, it's a good idea. So again, how you come up with all these ideas, man? Now I know it's all chat GPT, guys. It's not Johan, it's all chat GPT.
it's
Chat GPT
all
is writing all his
100%.
content. You heard it here first.
Um,
So what you
but
got
yeah.
going? You said you got another top 10 coming out tomorrow. What are you going to reveal what it is, or you want to keep it a secret?
I mean, I can reveal at least one addition. I'm not going to say where on the list it is, but one new addition is definitely the Dandelion Dynasty. That has
And
shot
this is
into
just
my
your
top
top 10
10.
fantasy series, or
Yeah,
okay,
definitely, definitely.
okay.
Just it's incredible, really. So yeah, as I said earlier in this live stream, I would love to hear your thoughts on that series. But the first book, I'm not sure if you enjoyed the first book, and that's a chunky book, so I'm not going to ask you to read the first book. I still think the first book is incredible, but the series becomes much more character focused from book 2 on. Book 1
But you
is
said
just
there's like a
a
bazillion characters there, right? Do they have a dramatis in it so you can keep all these characters straight?
yeah. I believe Ken Liu has added, um, yeah, a character list,
Now, is
but I
this the
wouldn't be
same
able.
guy that wrote Three Body? Or he translated Three Body.
He's translated it, yeah.
Do you read Three Body, Prob?
No, I haven't. Have you?
I gave it up. I about halfway through it. I was
Really?
like, this is just not.
I've owned the first book for years, but I haven't picked it up yet.
Huh.
I know also the author is apparently a bit controversial.
He's ruffled some feathers a little bit. We started watching the Netflix show, and it's pretty. Poor my kid, like, kind of took over the TV because my kid got interested in Stranger Things, and now he just wants to. Every time I have a free minute, he's like, "Let's watch Stranger Things." He's actually telling me, like, we got to download it and take it on the boat with us. And I was like,
okay,
calm down. You know, we're not letting them take their iPads on the trip this year because last time we took them on a trip, all they wanted to do was like, dude. You're seeing the most amazing visuals right now outside your room, and all you want to do is go back and play your iPads. So we're not let them take their iPads this time. So I think they're trying to. He's trying to finagle it to where he's like, "Well, I know you're going to bring your iPad because that's where I'm going to be bringing. I'm going to be reading One Piece on." So I think he's trying to find a way that he can still use mine. For his own
nice.
You know,
but how is the Three Body Problem adaptation? Again, I haven't watched any of it.
I mean, as far as I remember of what I read the book, pretty good. I actually kind of like the way that they're breaking up the pacing better because in the book it's kind of just straightforward in the timeline order, where this is kind of doing like back and forth, present day and the flashback. And I think it's probably a better method. I always said when I read it that I felt like the adaptation had a chance to be better because they'd be forced to actually do some character work, and they have. And I feel like it's doing a pretty good job of that. So I know they did say that they're coming back to conclude the story, but they haven't said how many episodes or seasons that means. But we'll see. We'll see. But as far as if I ever go back and read it, I doubt it. It's just not my style.
No, it always makes you happy when your favorite book or series, or well, maybe not everyone agrees, but it would make me happy if my favorite series got an adaptation. Well, when it's Netflix, you're a bit like, will we only get one season?
It's hit or miss. Yeah, it's always hit or miss with Netflix. And, I think that this is weird because, like, Amazon, for as much as they seem to drop the ball in fantasy, they do great on everything else. So it's really strange. So I don't know. I feel like, to me, Apple TV has been the best. Everything they put out, I think, is at least watchable. So
That's what everyone says. I haven't watched anything on Apple TV. But like HBO as well, I feel has a pretty good track record.
For All Mankind, it's one of the best shows on TV. It's so good. It's so good. It really is. Even if you weren't alive for the space race or care about the space race at all, it's just great alternate history fiction. It's really, really fun.
Well, I'm currently watching Better Call Saul with my wife, and I'm loving it.
Nice. Did you watch Breaking Bad first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge Breaking Bad fan. I watched it twice.
Yeah. I think it was like everybody always treated it like a spinoff. I would try to tell people, I was like, at first it was that, but I was like, it became right there to me where it stood right next to Breaking Bad. It's just
the first season was maybe a bit slow, but honestly, we just finished season 4 2 days ago, and Better Call Saul is incredible. It's genuinely one of the best series I've ever watched. So really impressive track record with that universe.
All right, before we get out of here, I figured this is a good question to close us down with. Would you guys ever do a read along with me kind of video stream? Now, do you mean just like live streaming of us actually just like reading? Because I know people do those sprints or whatever, and I never really understood them. I just don't think anybody has any interest to just sit there quiet and listen to me. Listen. I mean, maybe like an ASMR kind of thing. I mean, I don't really know if I would do something. I know I'd actually, when I thought I was not going to be getting an arc of Lightbringer, the new Red Rising book, I'll just turn on the live stream and just read it and just instant react to it. And that's when Pierce Brown was like, "No, I'll send you a personal one from my house." So,
nice.
I don't know. Is that something you would ever do?
No, not really. I've actually done reading sprints occasionally when I want to read but I can't concentrate. I found it's helpful to put on my TV or iPad a reading sprint on where I see other people reading. It just helps me to focus a bit. But I wouldn't do it on my channel just because I don't really have any interest in doing it. But also that viewership or that market is so niche. So even if you were the biggest booktube in the world, not many people would join that stream anyway, because it's just you're just sitting there quiet.
Scared as everybody is quiet these days. Yeah, I don't think that. I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting, like when they wanted me to read like the last 2 chapters of Changes by Jim Butcher. They wanted me to actually record myself reading that, and I sped it up a little bit. And I mean, I understand things like that, but like just turning on the camera and just live streaming while you're reading a new book, I mean, honestly, personally, I have too many interruptions at home. My kids, they need something every 5 minutes. I'm surprised they leave me alone this long to do this. I mean, one of them's in
Yeah,
school right now, so that's probably
yeah,
the only reasons it's happening that way. So I
yeah.
don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
there's definitely they're great for concentration. Like when I finished studying last summer, but during my undergraduate and postgraduate, I often would, when I was writing assignments, I have two monitors. I would put a "Come study with me" video on one monitor, where you literally just see someone writing notes and studying with a timer, and then I would write my assignment. And again, it's weird. I don't know why it works. Like those videos have millions of views, but it does. At least for me, it just really helped having a timer and seeing someone else study. It's a bit like going to the library, but you're at home.
No, that's not a bad
So
thing. No,
yeah,
I guess so. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and sorry it took so long to actually put this together because of the
no, I
time zone
mean,
differences or not. What you got? What you got going on the rest of the night?
well, I'm probably gonna have dinner soon. It's 7 p.m. here where I am, and then yeah, maybe I'll watch something. Maybe I'll continue this book, which I'm halfway through.
That's my
So we'll
favorite
see.
one. Oh
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I'm not gonna be picking up Rainbow Chronicles tonight. It's not getting my name.
It made me need to take a nap. Yeah.
I seriously have 80 pages left or something of that book. I should just pick it up and read it, but it'll wait. I'm more excited about this one, so
Those
I'll
hope's awesome, man.
prioritize it.
I hope you'll love it. Those editions from does Broken Binding have anything that's ugly? I mean, they put out any books. Like I just got that new what the Gentleman Bastards book, and I was just like, my God, these are just beautiful. I'm sure that Matt's probably sick of me messaging him all the time, being like, "Oh, thank you, man, it's so gorgeous." He's probably like, "I know, I've seen it," or but
He is great. I love Matt.
yeah, he's a
So
good dude.
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for watching, and you know where to find. Again, you want to learn how to use Instagram, just kind of emulate Jóhan's channel. So first, get the beautiful blonde hair and the gorgeous smile and the beautiful books, and apparently that helps a lot. You don't have this face, and be born in the '90s, as he so eloquently put it earlier. And I think maybe that'll help you out a little bit. But again, guys, if you aren't subscribed, I've got a link to his channel down below.
Thank you.
Do so, because I think his videos are always going to create a lot of conversation and apparently rebuttal videos. So, hopefully one day I can be a real boy too, and I can have.
I can do one for you. I'll do a rebuttal video. Well, I'll just find something I disagree with you on.
All right, yeah, I would love to see that. Now I'm actually kind of scared, but again, thank you so much, and guys, and we will talk with you soon.
Thank you.
I love how long it always takes.